to Ask Earl Anything. This is the show where your questions make the show. Without your questions, I don't really have a show. This month I got a lot of questions during the month of February on a lot of different videos. We're going to talk a little bit about where life's going again. I like to always do that on my shows these days. Got a whole bunch of questions. I may even have enough for 2 shows again. And if that's the case, I'm going to have to try to find a better place than going an hour and then doing only a 15-minute show. So I'm going to try to paste the questions. I got a lot of questions, a lot of new questions from new people that really are watching a lot of my videos. And I appreciate everybody watching my videos. It's one of the things I enjoy. Thank you all for doing that. This past month has been R&B Soul month. In honor of Black History Month. I did this last year, did some gospel tunes and did a lot of R&B tunes. I really resonate with that style of music. You know, I really resonate with a nice backbeat, groove-oriented style of music. So that's what I played. I played a lot of fun songs that were fun for me anyhow. Stevie Wonder, Donna Summers, then some obscure tunes. I found a few obscure one-hit wonder tunes, and it was a lot of fun doing a lot of different tracks from Whitney Houston. And I still got a few more in the can, but probably they will come out before this airs in March. A couple other on a personal note. Had a couple deaths in our family. My wife's sister and brother both passed away over the Christmas and now last month. So we're dealing with some of those things right now. Appreciate your prayers and your thoughts. You know, life is short. I say that a lot in life. And that's why you need to enjoy life while you have it. Enjoy the people you're with while you have them. And love on those people. Love on your grandkids. Love on your kids. Love on your wife. Love on the people you love. And the most important thing is to have fun in this life and have relationship with people you love. So I've been threatening to actually slow my pace down. If you see my pace slow down, it will be because I have a few weekends I will not be doing drum covers this month. So I'm going to be out 2 weekends. That could be as many as 14 drum covers or as many as 10 drum covers. So I may be spacing them out. I may also run some of my alt covers and a couple other things like that, or just have some space. Maybe you guys just don't need to hear from me. Anyhow, some of you love hearing from me every day, so I'm just telling you that in case you see me, you just know what's going on, okay? Let's start with the first song. Now, this was one of the only songs in the month of February I did that was not in the theme of R&B soul, and it might have been right at the end of January. I'm not even sure when I did it, but it was Dancing Fool from Frank Zappa, which was kind of a strange tune. Just as a note, I moved the concert tom kit into the main room because I wanted to hear some differences in the sounds and get some space in the other room. And I've done some other lighting things in the other room, so I moved the Gretsch kit into the other room. I'll be doing covers in both rooms. And I don't have it dialed in here like I had it dialed in there. So a couple covers I've done. I'm still working on sounds with kick and snare and other things. But for the most part, these drums sound huge, and I have a lot of fun with them. So I hope you enjoy the covers I'm doing with these, and that's important. So anyhow, with that said, let's jump into our first one. My first question comes from Nicky F. He asked this question on Dancing Fool. He said, nice toms. I used the concert tom kit for that. Is it easier to tune concert toms since they don't have a resonant head? My 10-inch tom is a pain to tune because of the reso head. Not the others so much. Mickey, I would say this. I would say tuning any drum has a lot to do with how the drum is constructed, the bearing edge, and the heads you're putting on it, and if the head's in good shape, and the rims. And I will say these concert toms are a little finicky every once in a while. I get, Sometimes they sound awesome, and sometimes I have to really work with them. You know, I have to find the lug that's kind of a little loose. And I also find that tuning concert toms, it's not always an even thing that works. It takes having something uneven to make it sound right. Where if I get a real even, you know, if I have even tensioning on each lug, I don't think it always comes out sounding right. So I do a lot of detuning lugs to get the sounds out of these drums. But the bottom head, it can really make a drum sound really good if you have it tuned right. If the bottom head is not tuned right and they're out of sync with each other, if they're not evenly tensioned, either the same head sound, you know, pitch at the top and the bottom, or one's a little wonky, you got a wonky lug and one's loose, it can really affect the sound. So it's really important you find the balance between the top head and the bottom head. I don't always tune my bottom head tighter. A lot of times my bottom head is looser or the same pitch as the top head. That's what I found works for me. There are other guys that, like, I've heard the John Bonham tuning is the bottom head was tuned tight, top head was tuned loose to get his sound. So you've got to experiment with tuning, and I guess it's an ear thing, and it's something I developed at a very young age. So I figured out how to tune drums, and that has a lot to do with my sound. I will say the speed I go with things, sometimes I wish I spent a little more time on tuning, so I fix it in the mix, so to speak. And drums like this drum, these drums, they go out of tune quicker because they're older and the lugs back out occasionally, and then you might be in the middle of a take and it kind of detunes itself, and it kind of bugs me sometimes. Every once in a while I hit one of those. So, but I don't find concert toms easier to tune than double-headed toms, to be honest. So that's my honest opinion on that one. My next question comes from Michael Perry, and Michael Perry asked, does playing, and this was on Don't Get Around Much Anymore, the Natalie Cole cover that got released from last year that was blocked by YouTube. And Michael Perry says, does playing brushes take a different feel as compared to sticks? I mean, does brushwork come easy to you, or is it something you had to dedicate some time to? I think brushes are as odd. It's odd playing brushes. You know, when I think of brush playing, the difference is you're moving your hands in this swishy kind of motion, and it's not up and down. We're playing, you know, single strokes is up and down, but brushes is kind of a swish. The other thing about brushes is it definitely is something you got to get the feel of where you want things to land to make it swing, and so you don't get in the way of each other. And that's why brush playing is such a unique thing to different players. Some of my favorite brush players play totally different than I play. I've watched guys that basically go out. That's the way they dance. They swim out. And I swim in. This is how I doggy paddle more than breaststroking out. You know, so when you're playing brushes, that's oddball to me, to go out. I want to come in. So early on, I had a couple teachers that really wanted to teach me to go out, and it didn't work. I eventually saw the Steve Smith, Adam Nussbaum video on brush playing, where he had Charlie Persip and some of the guys he had were great drummers, great jazz drummers. I don't have all their names at the top of my head. Joe Morello was in there. Charlie Persip, I remember, was in there, great jazz drummer. A couple other guys, and I watched them, and a lot of them had the same style where they came in, they swished in. So you've got to figure the swish, that's the first thing, and not get in the way of it. And then the other thing is going over top of the swish. Now there's some great brush playing technique videos to watch. When I first watched anybody play brushes, all I could do was learn from how they did it. And I think early on I had some some issues with brush playing because it wasn't really flowing for me. But after watching a lot of video the last 20 years, I've actually worked my brush playing to where I'm okay. Not a great brush player, I'm an okay brush player. And I can get by. I used to be able to get by when I was young because I could do... I always could do that. But I could never get the... I could never dig in and make it sound right. So I've been working on that. Where you're digging in on the backbeat. And somewhere, probably in the early 2000s, I got this thing where I would swish like this. Where I was kind of, I just da-da-da-da-da with my right hand against my left hand swishing. It's kind of like stirring soup kind of thing. The other thing is you try to keep the brushes on the head. So is it the same as playing sticks? Not even close. Do you have to work at it? Yes, you do. You got to practice it. You got to sit there. I probably practice brushes more than I practice other things on the drum kit, you know, for patterns and things like that. A lot of my patterns and stuff I've learned over all these years of playing. And it's been the last 20 years. I've been practicing brushes kind of steadily. And that's why I'll throw a brush cover in every once in a while. So just to get that feel. Now different brushes have different effects. This is a very stiff pair of Jeff Hamilton Regal tips. Totally different vibe than when I pick up the Steve Gadds, which got the twisted, the turned up brush edge and the angle of it. And they're lighter sounding because they're lighter. The other thing I will say is practice strokes on brushes too is totally valid. Like doing rolls and paradiddles and things like that. But when you do it, you try to get, like, I try to do this like side to side thing. You know, so I don't know, just some ideas. Brushes don't bounce like sticks, so they don't help you. Another thing is, a lot of guys are match grip. They want to play match, you can do that. I've watched great brush players like Bill Stewart play match grip. I just have a tendency to go to traditional grip when I play brushes, so that's another one of my little oddities. But I will pull out traditional grip, as everybody knows, once in a while. All right, hope that covers that one, Michael. Thanks for the question. My next question comes from Mark Zinker, Z-I-N-K-E-R. Says, I understand, this was on my last Ask Earl Anything show, and we were talking about cymbals. He said, I understand the cymbal love. I have quite a few. They are the same as jewelry to women. They all sound different tones and sounds, same as snares. Hard to stick with one set. God, I agree with you on that one. Don't forget my question. Oh, he was commenting on my cymbal answer, but he has a question that I apparently didn't answer, or I did answer it and you missed it, Mark. I think I answered this question, but I will give it another shot. And here's the question. Don't forget my question on acoustic treatment on the walls. Wondering if having them on the walls in a small room will change the sound waves in the room, just for listening only. I'm not going to record anytime soon. Great show as always. Okay, well, thanks for watching the show, Mark. This foam makes a huge difference to a room. You just have to know where to place it, and you have to know how you want to place it and how to get the sound of the room dead enough so that you can record and the drums sound good. And it's an art, it's a science, and it's an ear thing. And to be honest, this room came together by accident. But there are some places I have treatment in the room that really make the room sound the way it does. This is not soundproofing. This stuff does not stop the sound from going out, but it does change the sound of the room. It kills the room. And by killing the room, it makes it easier to record in here. So that's part of the process, is knowing the room and knowing how your drums sound in the room. When I moved this kit into this room, it sounded different than in there. That room's much more alive. It's got a tile floor, not a carpeted floor. It's got a carpet under the drums, but it's a tile floor, cinder block walls. This has got cinder block walls with a lot of treatment. That's got cinder block walls with two sides that are treated by two different things. One is huge blankets on the walls, and the other is a chase lounge on one wall. And that's the majority of it. I do have some foam that I have tucked away in places that are not on the wall that I probably want to try on the wall, but I haven't done it yet. And I have some nice pieces of foam to put up on the wall, a lot of it actually. Got to just get the spray foam and do it. I'm sure if I do that, it'll change the way that room sounds and looks at that point in time. So yes, it does affect the room. Now, what foam, what sound reflecting devices do you use? That's up to you. And for me, I spent about, I don't know, $300 or $400 on foam when I first bought this house, and I moved the studio into this garage and built this studio. And I pretty much haven't really added very much to it since, to be honest. The only addition was the diamonds. After being here for about 6 months to a year, I put the diamonds up on the wall, and this was before the door was here. I had a carpet on this wall, and that carpet really had a honk. It gave me like a honk at 400K in the snare drum that just sounded terrible. And one day I was looking at the carpet, I'm saying, do you think this carpet's helping things? And I looked at it, I said, I don't think it is. And I took it down and I put up this, and it changed the sound of the room. The room went to right. So carpets really don't work as well for sound absorption as this foam stuff does. So yes, the foam helps, and that's why it's on the walls. Thanks for the question, Mark. All right, my next question comes from a new subscriber, I believe, new friend who's starting to ask questions. His name is Vince Gomez. I think I have a couple questions from him. So a couple different slides with his name on it that are different questions. So I'm going to give it a shot, the first one. Here we go. Okay. Hi, Earl. I appreciate all your informative information. I have lots of questions, but I'll start with one that's on my mind now. I moved last year. I'm at a new church. It was a small church before, small kit with a small kit with a 14-inch HHX Jazz hi-hats, 18-inch HHX Studio Crash, no drum shield. I play lighter with Vader Sweet Ride. I don't know what Vader Sweet Ride is, but play lighter with Vaders, I guess. Sweet Rides, okay. Our new church is much larger, and the drummer is in a booth. I've been asked to play harder than ever before. The cymbal setup includes 15-inch rock hi-hats, 22-inch, 24-inch pingy ride, two 16-inch medium stage crashes. I recently bought a 20-inch big beat to go with my personal set. Sounds great. So I'm thinking about getting a 22-inch big beat like you have, or a 22-inch 900 series. Any thoughts? I guess that's the question, about my thoughts about the big beats versus the 900s. I also bought oak sticks for more volume. Oh, sorry about that. And the 20-inch big beat seems to be just right, not too bright, not too dark. I can play them at church or gently with my wife acoustically. Would the 900s match? I think the giant beats would be better, but are more expensive. Thanks again. By the way, when I got the 20-inch big beat, I also tried the 20-inch giant beat, but the big beat matched my 18-inch HHX Studio Crash better. The giant beat was more subdued. Okay, that's a long way to ask a question about a couple cymbals. So let's talk about giant beats, big beats, and 900s. First off, the 900 series hi-hats sound pretty cool. I almost bought a pair of those. But the 900 series crashes and rides seem pretty heavy. And they made those color sound ones. I always thought the color sounds were cool, the color sound 5s back in the 80s. But to be honest, the color sound cymbals are a gimmick. So buying the color sound cymbals, you're going to be feeling like you had a gimmick in 3 years, and you're going to regret it, unless you have a set of other cymbals you'll use instead of the color sounds. So when the 900s came out, I looked at them. I thought, oh, these are cool. They got blue, and they got purple, and they got green, and red, and black, which really didn't turn me on, but the blue ones really did. I thought the blue ones were kind of cool. But the 900 rides seem awfully heavy. But the hi-hat sounded really cool, and they had a set of Sound Edge, and I was looking at the Sound Edge 900s. But I didn't go for them. I ended up buying a 2000 Sound Edge bottom, and that was my start into the Sound Edge world. If it comes to a 900 or a 2002 Big Beat, I would say get the Big Beat. I think the Big Beats and the Giant Beats are the same price. So it doesn't really matter if you go Big Beat or Giant Beat unless you found a used one or something. That would explain the difference in price. The Big Beats are darker, so the Big Beats would fit with the the B20 cymbals, like the HHX crashes, which are a little bright, by the way, for H cymbals, for hand hammered cymbals. But I think it's a good choice with a Sabian. That would work. I've put my Big Beat with my Zildjians a few times. They sound great. They work great with the dark Zildjians. So the Big Beat's the right one if you got dark cymbals. I don't know about the 900, how that's going to work. 900s are more like 2002s. They're brighter, and the rides are heavier, and they're more in that 2002 category. So I would stay away from the 900 if you dig the 2000 Big Beats or the Giant Beats. Giant Beats are a thinner cymbal. This is a 20-inch Giant Beat right here. You know? It's a good ride cymbal. Good ride cymbal. Different animal than the 2000 ride, though. There's more ping in the 2000 ride. I think your 900 is going to be more like this. The Big Beat is more like the Giant Beat, except it's a little darker. It's got more hammering in it, and it's got more of the modern essential hammering in it. So I would say you got a Big Beat, stick with Big Beat if you like that sound, because you're not going to go wrong with that. You won't go wrong with the Giant Beats. I'm not sure what you're going to get with the 900s. So that's my opinion on that, Vince. And I hope that helps you answer that question. I know you've got another question in here, so let me see if I can find it. That's the same question. I thought I saw a different. Here's another Vince question. Vince Gomez, question number 2. This was on my Story Behind the Gear show with my metal snare drums. He said, another great video. Love your honesty in calling out garbage. I've had a few acrylites in the past, but they've never did it for me. Probably a tuning issue since so many other people like them. Anyway, I could see using some different snares going up. I could see some of those snares going up in price on eBay now. You are a positive influencer. Thanks again. Well, that was more of a comment. But I like the idea that you call me a positive influencer. I don't think anybody from the drum world thinks that, because nobody's handing me anything. Every once in a while, though, I do get somebody will send me something like a set of headphones or a microphone they'll want me to try out, usually some really bad stuff. And then they'll send it my way to see if I can say something nice about it, which I usually say something nice about it, but it's usually not pro level. And I think they want me to kind of give it a kind of a pro level review. So I've done a few of those kind of reviews, but I don't think I'm an influencer enough where the drum community is going to give me heads or sticks, which I think might be another question that comes down the pike. But thank you for your thoughts that I'm an influencer. I appreciate that. As far as snare drums go and the value of snare drums, I'm surprised at how much people will pay for acrylites. Acrylites were a less than $100 snare drum for me as a kid. I threw one to the curb. My acrylite, a friend of mine gave to me. I was not buying an acrylite anytime. I've had Superphonics. They're a mixed bag. You know, some Superphonics sound great, some don't sound so hot. They sound like acrylites. So for me, I've never really fell in love with Superphonics where I wanted to keep them. The only Ludwig drums that I really wanted to keep is these Black Beauties. I love these Black Beauties. I love their brass shells. So that's really my thing with that. But the Acrolite's nice to have one. If I have that sound, I will pull it out and use it. So thanks for the question, though, Vince. Appreciate it. All right, there we go. Next question is Lori Jones. Good morning, Earl. Totally in the pocket. This was on the Stevie Wonder Don't You Worry About a Thing video. The toms sound great with the pinstripes. By the way, these are pinstripes. I am digging the pinstripes on this kit. I've had Emperors, I've had clear ambassadors. Clear Emperors, clear ambassadors, coated Emperors. I think the pins really work nice, so I'm going to have these on here for a while. Question about your match grip. Notice that on most videos you use a French grip on the hi-hat and cymbals and more of a German grip on the snare. It's a different technique, I guess. It's to get the quarter note to sound as good as they do. Is it something you've developed over time? All right, that's an interesting question. Playing the French grip more over like this on the ride cymbal versus playing like this on the ride cymbal. And I do play more like this on the hi-hat sometimes, but I do switch. The truth of the matter is I'm not hung up on grip, Lori. That's the truth of me. I am not hung up on grip. Matter of fact, my grip is so weird, I notice that a lot of times I'm holding the stick with my middle finger and this finger's sticking out. And I go, wow, that's kind of weird. But it's how I play, and it works. I think my technique is terrible, so don't watch me for technique. Watch me for groove. Watch me for the way I make things feel. That's what I'm going for, by the way. It's the sound. What you hear in my videos is me going for a sound, a vibe. And to get that sound, I will twist my hands any which way to get the sound. I will move the brush any which way. I will turn my hand over any which way. I am not legalistic about great technique, and that's why my technique is terrible. So don't follow me for technique. That's a Carmen Appice thing. Carmen plays this way, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but Carmen Appice learned how to play, to do all his twirls and stuff. He kind of has a grip like this, and he plays this way with his fingers. Crazy grip. I've tried it a few times. It's not easy. But I think I naturally flip my hand over on the ride cymbals. It's a natural thing. Or I go like this. That's a natural thing. And I don't really think about it. Now when I'm practicing on a pad, different ball game. You know what I mean? So, different thing on a practice pad. I have a tendency to kind of do more of a German thing. Do not watch me for technique. That's all I'm going to say. My technique is not very good. So I make it work, but I don't think I have great technique. All right, my next question comes from Zach Drums and Golf. Zach's a friend for a long time. He heard I got an E-kit, and he said to me, do you think you'll ever make a drum cover on an E-kit? I'm not planning on it, Zach. Matter of fact, this weekend when I moved the kits, I was trying to find a place to put the E-kit next to one of these kits. And the way the rack is for that E-kit, it just doesn't fit my vibe. It's just not working. So I've kind of decided, nah, I'm not going to do that. So no E-kit, no E-drum covers in the future that I know of. I may use E-drums like I did on that Too Late for Goodbye song by Julian Lennon. I put some very E-drummy things on it. But if you want to watch a guy that does E-drums right, watch Chadwick Perry. Double Deuce Drums. Check him out. Double Deuce Drums does E-drums properly. He's got some Simmons pads. He's got an SPD-SX. He uses it very effectively. He's a great drummer. Also, there's a guy called the Simmons guy, I think is his name. He makes only drum covers with Simmons drums. I really dig his drum covers because he's just doing Simmons licks. I don't know if he's a great drummer or not really. Don't have to be a great drummer to play Simmons licks. You just have to be able to play those songs with the right parts. He does a great job with it. I love his vibe. I love the E-kit. That's the kind of E kit I would do a drum cover with. If I had Simmons pads, I might do an E drum cover. But to do it on that Elisa's kit is just like, no, I don't think so. If I start doing my Elisa's kit, I've moved, I'm living in a condo, and I'm on my last legs as a drummer. So I'll say that. I'm not quite there yet. All right. Next one, odd meter. Earl, Ludwig snare drums. This was on this Ludwig snare, the metal snare drum video. Ludwig snare drums, why not Ludwig drum sets? Great show. Great question, odd meter. I would love to have some Ludwig drum kits. I've had a few Ludwig drum kits. My first drum kit was a Ludwig Vistalite kit, a blue Vistalite kit. I've had a Marine Pearl Ludwig kit from the 60s with a 24-inch bass drum, 9x13, 10x14, 16x16, and 4 concert toms from the 70s with the gray fleck paint inside them. The other ones were, I believe they were the what do you call it? The finish inside was the clear coat. So it was that, you know, Ludwig guys know the answer. They call it, there's a thermal gloss. They had the thermal gloss inside. So I know that those drums were not thermal gloss on the outside maple, but I believe they were the maple toms. Great sounding kit. Wish I still had it. I had a little kit with a 20-inch 12 and a 14x14. I don't know where I picked that kit up. That was another kit that came to me. I gave it to a friend. I had a green Vistalite kit that I bought and sold after I sold my blue Vistalite kit when I was in college. Love the Vistalite drums. Just not useful, but they're fun. They're great drums to have once in a while. I sold them for preamps for my studio. And the last kit I had was a blue Sparkle Club Day kit that I kicked myself for giving away, but I gave it away. So I love Ludwig drums. I would buy Ludwig drums, and if I wanted to buy another drum kit. Matter of fact, if I had found a set of Ludwig concert toms, I would have went Ludwig concert toms, but these concert toms came to me. This kit's got a Gretsch bass drum with Ludwig hardware on it because I had some Ludwig hardware from an old drum I had. So it looks like a Ludwig, but it's not. That's another story. This is actually a Gretsch bass drum. It's got a Gretsch shell. It's got the silver sealer is inside this bass drum. But I love Ludwig drums, and I would buy Ludwig drums if I had an opportunity and if I wanted another kit. I think Ludwig's make some great drums. I definitely love the mahogany drums and their maple, classic mahogany 3-ply, classic maple 3-ply drums. Those are some beautiful drums. I think they're great. So, all right, let's see another one. This is from Mel Holsworth, and Mel asks a question. This was on Me and Mrs. Jones. Great laid-back R&B feel, buddy. Interested if you were playing with your hi-hat bottom on top. Have you swapped them or have 2 times bottoms for a deeper feel? I think on this cover, I was using the 505 bottom on top of a 2000 Paiste 2000 Sound Edge bottom. So it was 2 bottoms together. One was a Sound Edge, the scalloped edges on the bottom, and the other was the 505 bottom, which I have found to be the best sounding 14-inch hi-hats I have. If I put that bottom on top of that Sound Edge, it just does something. I even bought a 2000 Reflector Sound Edge top, and it just doesn't do what this bottom 505 does. Now, these are the 505s today. So these are 505s, mediums, 14-inch top, 14-inch bottom. Now, the interesting thing, the weight of a 505 medium top is 741 grams. The bottom cymbal is 990 grams. So 990 grams on top of that 2000 Sound Edge, which is 1112 grams, is a beautiful sounding set of hi-hats. These are a beautiful sounding set of hi-hats. They're just different. I have a set of big Giant Beat, 15 inches. They're different. The 2000s now, with the sound reflector top, is a different set of hi-hats. They don't sound the same as putting this bottom on it. So I do that occasionally to get a sound, and that was the sound I wanted. It has a better bark. It's got that hi-hat bark that really sounds nice. Sounded great on this one, so all the merrier. So continue on. Where am I at? All right. Thanks for that question, Mel. This is a question from Stuart Barrett. And Stuart Barrett asks the question, I just ordered a 19-inch Big Beat. A lot of guys are buying Big Beats. They see me playing that 22. I'm looking forward to getting it. Stuart said, can you discuss how you do your covers on your next show? Maybe share how you get tracks without drums. All right. Great question. Let me take a shot at that. Feeling a little parched. The way I make drum covers starts with, and I have a whole series on how I make drum covers, from making drumless tracks to mixing the cover in Logic and doing the whole thing and the cameras and Final Cut and all that stuff. The way I make my covers is I basically have a Logic template that matches my drum kits in the different rooms. I use the template to record the audio. I then mix the audio in Logic, take the audio out, and I marry the audio to the video, whatever video I take, using an iPhone, an iPad, a DSLR camera, occasionally some really cheap garbagey camera that I have hanging around. And it'll be anywhere from 1 to 3 cameras. I rarely do 4. And I have it where I can do these drum covers in somewhere between no more than an hour of playing and no more than an hour of mixing and doing it. So I do drum covers in less than 2 hours. Sometimes I do the drum covers in less than an hour. Depends on the song. Now I will say this. When I do a drum cover, I record from the very second I sit down at the kit to practice it. Meaning, I practice on camera. And if I happen to get the song in the first or second take, then that's the take. I don't waste a lot of time. Sometimes I get songs very fast. Sometimes it takes a little more work. If you're recording in Logic, you're set up, you're dialed in, your studio is set up, dialed in, you're not going to have problems. Every once in a while I have technical issues. I've had some technical issues with my preamps, with my snare mic, and now my kick drum mic's doing something weird. Today I was recording a cover, a Christian cover, a CCM cover, and I had some issues with clicking, and I had to keep playing with it. It took me about an hour to record it. Even with all the technical issues, I had to keep going back and fixing things. I think what works for me is having a working studio that's in good shape, knowing my gear, knowing my equipment, and picking songs. Now, I will say that a lot of times what I'll do with X-Track stems, which is how I make drumless tracks for the most part, is I will do that on a separate day. So I will actually make 5 or 6 tracks for the weekend on X-Tracks. It may take me about 25 minutes. I don't count that into my time a lot of times. But every once in a while, I'll actually do the X-Track stem, and then I'll jump into the video. I did that yesterday on one of the songs, and I got that song done in less than an hour, all of it, complete. From X-Track stems to the whole thing, less than an hour. So it really depends on the song. It really depends on how hard the song is. It really depends on what it's all about, how much I know the song by listening to it. Sometimes I listen to a lot of music, so I kind of know songs, but I never played them. So they come easier sometimes. Sometimes I don't know the song at all, and I'm just going to learn it. It's going to take a little bit longer. Sometimes it's more technical. It takes a little bit longer. So my process is making a drumless track and X-Track stems. Now, there's another program called Moises or Moises or Moise. I don't know what you guys want to call it. I do use Moise once in a while. The interesting thing about Moise is you can actually make your tracks from a YouTube video. So you bring the YouTube video into Moises on your iPad or your iPhone, and it will spit out 4 separated tracks. The only problem with Moises free is it only goes 5 minutes. I've had a couple times I did a song that was longer than 5 minutes and cut the song off. That kind of bothers me. I pay for X-Track stems, $50 a year. It's worth it to me. The amount of drum covers I do, $50 is nothing. By the way, the paid version of Moises is $50, so I don't know what the difference is. They sound about the same to me. I'm not going to say X-Track stems is better than Moises. I'm not going to say Moises is better than X-Track stems. It's your workflow, what works for you. But there are ways to get drumless tracks today. And when people ask me, you have the drumless tracks? I don't. I don't keep the drumless tracks. I make the video and I'm done. And by the way, when I make a video with drumless tracks, I have 4 stems I bring into my DAW. I'm not making a 2-track with a click. I'm basically taking 4 stems and I make my click in Logic. All of this is documented in that video series I put together. I'll try to put the playlist in my description for you guys if you want to look at it. But it kind of, I did this over a year ago and it kind of outlines how I make videos. It works. It works for me. And you can tell by the amount of videos I do that it does work for me. Now, will it work for you? Having a dedicated space makes it work. Having drum mics set up and drums set up all the time makes it work. My ability to move stuff in and out is just my ability to think what I want for a song. And having enough equipment to choose what I want for a song. That's why I don't have to work so hard to get a sound. If I want a deep snare sound, I put a deep snare drum up. If I want a high-pitched snare drum, I put a high-pitched snare drum up. If I want a middle-of-the-road sound, I put a middle-of-the-road sound in there. I have different ways of miking the bass drum. Certain bass drum sounds, like this is the dead one. This one has got pillow in it. That one's kind of wide open. They have 2 different sounds. I use them for 2 different kinds of vibes. So picking the right drum kit for the song. I have the luxury of having 2 drum kits. Not everybody has 2 drum kits mic'd up and ready to go. I do. So that's another reason why this works for me. So anyhow, with that said, thanks for asking the question, Stuart. Enjoy the Big Beat. I think they're great cymbals. So X-Track stems, how I make my drumless tracks, and my flow can be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours tops. I record everything I do from the time I sit down in the kit to practice. So that's my flow. All right, the next one comes from Greg One Off. I think that's how you say it, One Off. I always enjoy your story times. This was on the metal snare drums. It's fun to be able to relate to many topics you discuss. I do have a question for you. It has to do with the bottom cymbal of my hi-hat sticking out and chewing up my sticks. I'm trying to align the top and bottom hi-hat cymbals, but they just won't stay. Any ideas? Interesting. The only idea I think is possibly you got keyholing going on your cymbals. And I'm going to show you something. This 505, that's not round. That's a keyhole. This cymbal got played a lot. And from being on any kind of a clutch, metal to metal, it kind of opens it up. So if your top cymbal is moving, maybe that's why your bottom cymbal's staying put, because usually the bottom cymbal has got a nice hole. See? Nice hole. Nice and circular. It's on a nice piece of plastic and felt. It doesn't really move. It doesn't get keyholed. But top cymbals, this gets keyholed. These cymbals are old. A lot of playing, a lot of keyholing. So this tends to move. So what I do with this one is I put it on a little bit tighter. I don't like it tight necessarily. I like it loose. But I guess if you don't want that disparity to happen, you would basically have to do it. So maybe it's keyholing is the issue, and maybe you want to look at your cymbals, see if it's keyholed. Now, if it is keyholed, you can buy a brass grommet at a hardware store that fits the hole and will make, and it has to fit your clutch, so bring your clutch along with you and your cymbal. Find a grommet that fits the hole but allows you to put your clutch on. They do make them, and that might help you to get it more aligned if you've got a keyholed cymbal. A friend of mine taught me that when my friend Scott Hazen showed me that trick. He uses it on these old hi-hats that I gave him, Istanbuls. That's my idea. Am I right or wrong? You let me know, okay? Awesome. I got one more set of questions. I did get through this pretty good. I think we're probably going to be about an hour. All right. Last question is from my new friend, John Morano, who's 805 Breeze. He has a few questions, 3 of them actually. First question is, on the song No Tell Lover, can you give me some tips on how you get such a smooth 16th note beat on the hi-hat if you're using some technique like the molar push and pull? I told you, my technique is not what you want to talk about. I guess I do something with my fingers when I do this. But I'm also using my wrist. I'm doing this kind of up and down motion. I don't know. So there's a little bit of, I don't know if I would call it molar. I don't know if it's true molar technique, but there is some finger movement going on, and there is this kind of back and forth, and it's something I've worked on a pad. So you want to work on something like this. A good way to work on it is to work on this exercise at 90 on the metronome. Where is my metronome? I didn't put my metronome back. Interesting. Let me see if I can get the metronome to work on my iPad for a second. This is an exercise my friend John Favicchia taught me. So John Favicchia taught me this exercise. And I'm going to do it on the hi-hat. So the exercise is, you do this for 5 minutes straight. Actually, you do it for 2 minutes on each pattern. So I'm going to do each pattern. The first pattern is this. It's 8th notes to triplets. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's the first pattern. You do that for 2 minutes. In your right hand, you do it for 2 minutes in your left hand. 3, 4. So that's the starting point. But the second go around of this, what you do is you start the triplet on beat 4 of the first bar. So it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 triplet. And you do that for 2 minutes with one hand. Then you do it with your left hand. Then you do the right hand. The next one again, back on the right hand. And this time you start on beat 3, the triplet. So it sounds like this. 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now it's a medium stroke. It's not a full stroke. It's a medium stroke. It's not a bounce stroke. You're pulling it out with your hand. See what I'm doing? 2, 3, 4. So that's the second time you do it with your left hand. And then the next time you do it, you start on beat 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the idea. And then the last time would be just triplets if you want to do it. Anyhow, you work on that 2 minutes on each hand, alternating it, or you just do right. Truthfully, I used to do it all rights and then all lefts. That's how I would do it. But that'll really work your hand up, and that'll start getting your hand to do faster patterns. And then you can work it on the metronome. You can work it where you get it to, let's do it 110. 110 might be, I may not do very well at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. You work on getting it even with the metronome. And you just keep working the tempo up till you get your hands to the place where you can't do it anymore. You're like this. I don't know where my spot is. I'm gonna go up to 150 just for the fun of it. Let's go. Come on, metronome. Do what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be able to hold this and make it work. Oh, there it is. That's 150. Yeah, 150 ain't gonna work. Go back to here's 130. If you're tightening up on it, then you gotta drop the metronome marking. I was starting to tighten it up. The other thing is, if you want to talk about a technique thing, when I'm doing this exercise, I'm doing it kind of a German grip. You guys asked that question. And you try to keep the hole open. So, see, there's like a hole there. That's what you want to try to do. And you can engage the fingers if you want to, but it's not a finger exercise. It's supposed to be medium, height, bounce, singles. So, anyhow, that's one way to work on it. Let's try another one now. Let's go back. The second question is, can you talk about your choice of bass drum pedal and beater? Also, what technique do you play? Mostly heel down or heel up? All right. I play both, heel up and heel down. My pedal of choice is the Tama Iron Cobra Flexi Flyer, which has got the, or Flexi Glide, I guess it's called. It's got the nylon strap. Even though the regular Iron Cobra with the chain is an excellent pedal, and I would buy one if I found one cheap enough. My beater of choice has been this square beater for a while, but I've tried all kinds of beaters. I have a beater on my gigging kit's a Camco chain drive, an old Camco chain drive from the 80s, Tama version. And I have a Rogers beater that has the spring-loaded, plastic flat side or the felt flat side. I like that beater a lot. I have some Vic Firth beaters. For a while on this drum, I was using a Vic Firth beater for a while. I was using that one with it's like a round lollipop, and I was using it in the flat lollipop way, and then I broke it. I broke the head off. So then I put the square wooden beater on this, and that's what's on here right now. And it's heavy, and it's a square wooden beater, but I also have a Vic Firth that looks like that little fat stick with a mallet head on it that Peter Erskine was hawking a bunch of years back. I have one of those. I think I might go to this because this kind of sounds kind of abrupt in here. I don't know. It's cool. The square beaters have more, like when it hits the head flat, it's just got a fatter sound. Now, I don't think it's a faster beater. I don't think it's like a metal guy would like it because it doesn't kind of float like a metal player likes the beaters to float. It's got more of that punch, that oomph. My other beater for the other Iron Cobra I have in there, because I have two of them. One's a double, one's a single. I don't play double pedal very much. Is a square beater felt Zorro beater. I think it's made by what is it, Canon that makes the beaters for the Zorro beater, the square beater. I think it's a company called Canon that makes it. I bought it a bunch of years ago. Matter of fact, the first square beater I had was a ProMark, I believe, and I think it was a John Robinson. And I had one back in the 80s. And I liked it, but I lost it somewhere. And then I know John Robinson uses a square wooden beater or a felt beater. Depends on which drums he's playing on. But yeah, that's kind of cool. That's what I like. I like to get as much meat on the head as possible. So I like the flat beater concept. But I have all kinds of beaters hanging around here, so I could try anything. But those are my favorites, my two favorites. Last one is, would you ever consider doing a video showing how to play funk beats or popular beats such as Take the Money and Run, Rosanna, Pretty Shuffle? Thanks again for doing what you do. I wish you lived in New Jersey. I used to live in Jersey, as you know, John. So one of these days I'll be back there. Who knows? I don't think I'll ever live there again. Teaching videos. I mean, there's so many guys that have done this Picaro shuffle, Picaro Purdy shuffle thing that I can't do it as well as they do it. I play a kind of a sloppy version of it. So if I was going to teach that, I'd have to tell you how to, it's all in between. That's the Purdy thing, is it's all these little in between the notes. That's what Jeff would teach. Oh, one triplet, two triplets, one trip. It's on the trip. That's how you practice it. One trip, led two trip, led three trip, led four trip, led one trip. And then you throw the backbeat on there every once in a while, so it gets that little, that's where I get sloppy. Anyhow, would I do a lesson of this? Probably not. Take the Money and Run. Again, it's something, I've got a video, you can watch me doing the video of it. I'm playing kind of the beat. But there's different ways to approach things, and I think what I do in my videos is I approach things in different ways. Like the hi-hat barks, I've gotten into doing this thing with the hi-hat barks now, where if it's on the E's or the U's, I'll use my left hand every once in a while. So I used to do it like... did this Earth, Wind, and Fire tune where I was doing this. That's one way to play that. But the other way to play it is to move the left hand to it. I'm getting into doing that a lot more. I'm getting into doing... So, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of different ways to approach it. If you want to work on a funk book, the Funk Drummer Workbook by Chet Dobo is the book I kind of learned a lot of my funk patterns out of. But most of my rock patterns I learned out of Realistic Rock. They give you more of the straight view to it. Then you start adding 16th note patterns. And that kind of does it. But all that said, will I ever do a lesson on it? Maybe someday. I'll take that under advisement. Anyhow, that's it for Ask Earl Anything. This is the show where your questions make the show. I don't have a lot else I want to say today. I think I've gone really long again, but I tried to cover all the questions in one show this week, so hopefully I got hopefully it's not too long. Maybe breaking up's a better, more for view reasons. But anyhow, I'm going to put it out like this. That's what I'm going to do. So thank you all for watching. Appreciate you being my subscribers. Please like and subscribe, whatever that means. And thank you for watching Ask Earl Anything. Have a great March. Talk to you again in April. Remember, your questions make the show. If you don't ask questions, I don't have a show. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Bye.